Yo, what's good, people? It's Friday. We're halfway through the month. We are nearly to the weekend. Happy Friday. The modular rack today, if you're wanting to keep track, is voltage control. We rise. Running an ambient patch in it through some Saturn and replica. Paintball washer. First. Yo, what's up? Happy Friday. Scruffy Rico. Seconds later. Man, you guys nearly tied. If you need a tissue, Rico, you just let us know, man. Dry your monkey cheeks. Saffron, welcome in. That was a fun session yesterday, homie. Yeah, coffee is always a good idea, right, Scruff? You are eager today, huh, Paintball? Let's do this. Oh, man. I'm jealous of your Korean feast, Saf. Paul is tuning in from sunniest Maryland. It is super blue, clear, and sunny here. I think it's going to be like mid-80s. Pretty all right. Man, this feedback swell is just hanging, isn't it? Wait. Heidi, you have AC. Oh, man. Rains, Phoenix, welcome in. Oh, no. Paintball, where are you? Are you in Florida? Is that right? Where are you again? Oh, man. Rains, you're under blanket, electric blanket, and small heater. So it's cold where you are. Where are you again? Soon I'll have a pretty solid mental map of the regulars. Jafar, welcome in, homie. How are you? UK, okay. Lubish. 85 degrees there, huh, Saf? Man, it is 66 outside right now where I am. And over the next few hours, it's going to get up by like 20 degrees. Well, next 7 hours, 6 hours. Melbourne. You know, we were just talking about Melbourne this morning. Or maybe it was last night. No, it was last night. Because we were talking about time zones. And Nico's been wrapping his mind around the globe and time zones and how all of this can possibly function the way that it does. And he was doing all right. And I said, I answered his question. And I was like, yeah, you're right, except for the fact that the people in Australia are already in tomorrow. And he was like, he sat there for a minute. Poor kid was eating dinner when I said that. He was like, wait, they're in tomorrow. Wait, what? All right, let's see who's put what into the Discord over here. Let's see what we're gonna get up to today. And did we have? We did have one or two that we did not get to last time. Nutty and Wilkie. So you guys try and remind me. Nutty and Wilkie, we owe them one. If they come in today, we'll give them some feedback here. Man, this sustained feedback is still going. It's great. All right, so Saf, I think we're kicking off to you. Now explain to him how longitudinal navigation wasn't possible until the invention of ship-mounted clocks. He does kind of grasp the whole, oh shoot, the name is escaping me. The thing you look up at the stars and the horizon with the space in it. We've watched a couple of movies where that is a thing, and their favorites, Moana and another one. So he's kind of familiar with the concept of like compasses and radar and sonar. He's got kind of this loose, vague idea of how all of these things work. It's pretty awesome once the imagination kicks in. Astrolabe. All right, let's do this. Seth, you are up first. Let's just grab my notepad here. Well, that was some lovely stuff. We could just let that feedback die naturally over the next, like, 12 minutes. That'd be funny. Hey, Kwame! How you doing, man? Happy Friday to you. All right, so we're kicking this off with Saffron this week, and he is saying, working on this track a little bit, not sure what are your thoughts and what could be tweaked in this piece? Gobno Adventures. Gobno. Nice. Rip Boy, welcome in. right, Saf, dude, this is good. I think maybe just some movement on this one. You know, maybe a long, slow running filter modulation on the highs, just to kind of like create a sense of movement up there, and then maybe just pick one or two things in the mix that can kind of play a bit more. Respect the gazelle. Thank you, Rico. Oh, snap. Let's pause again for the gazelle. Oh, yeah. There we go. Kwame, thank you so much, dude. Well, here we are just a few minutes into our Friday, and we've already got a hype train close. Thank you, guys. Much love. Appreciate you all. And a quick reminder, everybody that's subbed gets a free sound pack each month. And this month, you get to go and pick something out for free from the store, which means that you can get synth presets too. I usually just toss a sample pack up in as a reward, but I decided last month and this month just to open it all up. Not everybody has the same synths out there, so I don't put presets into the like just general freebie category usually. So take a look at the store and let me know what you want. Just shoot me a DM on Discord and we'll take care of it. So anyway, Saf, what I was about to say there is just find maybe one element, maybe two that can kind of move around in the stereo field just a little bit more. You could even introduce something entirely new that's very minimal, that's the only thing moving around. And maybe it's not like in a direct path, like left and right. Maybe it's like this meandering thing. Maybe it's just like a tiny little buzzing thing, like a bug or something. Who knows? But something for the mind to kind of follow as it's getting lost in all of that nice ambience that you've built. I think that would be pretty tasty there. Nope, you can't get ADD for Windows yet, unfortunately. But you could magically transform in something into a Hackintosh. So, Zandino, welcome in. All right, you guys. Thank you very much for all the love. Let's move on to the next one. Scruffy Rico is up next. Ooh, video time. Working on a few changes to my track for this week. As we speak, we'll get it rendered and up in the next 30 minutes. Nice. So, Rico, you want me to hang for a little bit and just come back to yours then? Oh, nice. And paintball is in early. Very good. Very good. It's all good now. Okay, cool. Let's click through this thing and check it out. Oh, wait. I don't want to... for whatever reason, there has been a little bit of glitchiness between Twitch and Safari lately, and that's what I just opened that up in. So let me just... All right, here we go. This is from Scruffy Rico. Dude, Rich, this is awesome. Super smooth build up there. Really, really fantastic and well balanced full mix. I think it's probably making Roku smile over there. I think it's really, really gonna open up nicely in the master. I hope it's a lot of, upward open expansion. I feel like it's got obvious club appeal to it, but I think it has broadcast appeal too. I'd absolutely put this into a licensing portfolio as quickly as you can. Really great clarity on the perks, and the synths all have room to kind of develop and move around and evolve. It's really nice. Maybe like a couple of small embellishments, like a little added texture to the atmospherics around 220 or so when things kind of dip out and mellow a little bit. And then again at 330, like a minute later, I feel like there might be a little bit of space for like a swell, maybe two swells, not necessarily synced with any timing in regards to the rest of the arrangement, but just something there to kind of give this emotional swell. Uh, Otherwise, man, like this is really, really, of course, it's really well done and really well produced, but it's really complete. It's got a really solid palette, and its arc is really nice. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Um, this track is still pretty early days. Yeah, rich sounds for sure. Oh, Santino, thank you. And Kwame was just asking what kind of presets would I recommend? And as I was sitting here thinking about that, I thought, you know what? Let me just pull up the website and flip through a couple. But it also made me realize yet again that I haven't released anything new, like officially, in quite some time. I've just been so buried with Audio Design Desk, and I think what we'll do is next week on the stream, why don't we get at least a couple of new products done? And maybe one of them can be the free pack for the following month, so you guys can get kind of a advanced grab on that. Um, so let's just kind of plan on that. Let's plan on making finishing a preset pack and a sample pack. We'll put out something new on both fronts. Got lots of stuff we could do. All right, so in regards to the stuff that you do, Kwame, you've already got those. We're looking for just presets. The polyrhythm MIDI clips might be kind of cool, but they wouldn't be as inspiring as, say, maybe Dark Waves. I'll play you some Dark Waves here. That kind of low-end analog feeling kind of synths. A lot of them are nimble and play nicely up top too. Yeah, the presets are really where it's at, honestly. I mean, These samples are fun. The presets are infinite in my world. So as always, you never hear anything that isn't just exactly as it is in one of my demos. So I don't do any kind of mixing or mastering or anything on the demos. So the presets themselves, regardless of what kind of preset they are, with I think one exception in all of the releases in the history of OhmLab, have all of the macros completely dialed in, and they're highly transformative. They're not like, oh, let's open or close a filter. It's more like, let's transform the sound into something different. So dark waves might be cool. After is super dope if you want to add like if you want to add some really like cinematic atmospheric quality to a track, like in an instant, like just push a button and you've got like this crazy awesome soundscape. That's pretty dope. Future Essentials might be a good one for you, Kwame, because it's got a wide variety of different types of sounds that can be tweaked. I mean, I put the future tag on them, but they definitely don't have to be used in that way. Might like this one. Yeah, Kwame, I don't know how top secret the projects are, but I do remember you mentioning that you are cooking in a different direction behind the scenes. I'll play a little bit of the absinthe ones. These are great. They're very moody and textured and big, very soundscapey. This one's just it's like a mood setter is what it is. I don't know why things are sounding so driven on the website right now. Synthesis is fun, isn't it? Oh man, there's some old stuff. I forgot that I even put these up again. You know, back in the day, for those who have been following OhmLab for a really, really long time, you'll remember that a lot of stuff was ephemeral for quite a while, meaning that it would go away, right? So I would release a pack and like sometimes it would be a month later, it would just be gone, or maybe a year later it would be gone, or 6 weeks or whatever. Some of those were brought back. I forgot that I left these up here. Some of these mini packs, I think they're only like 5 or 6 sounds. 6 sounds. This is back in the days of when Massive first came out, and we hadn't fully built out ADSR yet, but we did have a handful of websites that ultimately became ADSR, and the first was massivesynth.com, and it's where all of the original Massive Synth tutorials were coming out. And I was cranking them out like daily, right? Like 3 a day usually, and many sounds. And a lot of those tutorial sounds were then kind of fleshed out into these like fully programmed patches, and then these mini packs were released around them, and those were actually quite a fun. I hadn't thought about these in quite a while, but they are tasty. Everything is ear candy. The synth stuff from me is really where it's at. Because with all the macros, you can just go in any direction. I'll just needle drop in a couple of spots. I'd kind of forgotten about Echo Space. God, I haven't listened to these in forever. All right, let's get back to some feedback for you guys. This is a fun little rabbit hole. God, these patches are so old. I think Deep Bionic was like 2010. Maybe? Yeah, anyway, Massive is still cool, regardless of what people might be saying. Lots of good sounds. All right, up next is Paintball. Thanks for the patience, homie. Kwame, I hope it helps you pick out something fun. All right, this one is Work in Progress from Paintball.
Because I miss you a lot, and I'm sorry that I'm crying right now, but I'm drunk, and I miss you so much. And I know that this is bullshit because you found a new perfect girl.
Did I tell you that it's over? Pour another rum, let me go drink till I'm sober. Think that it's over till I see the morning sun on the shoulder. I just wanna hold her, yeah, 'cause I think that attention you're pouring. That it's over. Pour another rum, let me cola. Drink till I'm sober. Think that it's over. Till I see the morning sun on the shoulder. I just wanna hold her. Yeah, 'cause I think that I'm losing my mind. Running out of time. Never knows I've been trying.
All right, this two things. You're wondering if it's an improvement over last time, and yes, it is. I can hear improvements. And the second thing is that now that you're getting into a spot where the stuff is feeling really, really solid, just kind of roll with the confidence that comes with that as well, and put your vocals right up on top. It's always going to be more important than what's happening with your music behind it, right? Because this is obviously some emotional stuff, and it needs to be kind of the main focal piece. So that's one thing. But how you achieve that is another thing. It's not like just turn up the volume, because I think that it would be nice to hear just a little bit more detail in all of the vocals too. And you can get there through just a touch of saturation and some compression. I think the combination would be really, really nice. And just be kind of gentle with both, and get it up to the point where it's with the beat, it's probably around neg 17, neg 18 luffs is what I would probably shoot for this one. I wouldn't want to drive it too much, because it's definitely the type of song that people will eventually just want to turn up. And you want to give them some space to, feel like things are actually getting better when they turn it up, not just louder and maybe too loud. So I would be gentle in your approach. But that's it. That's it. I think that your mix on the vocals is really good, and your balance between backing vocals and main vocals are good. And your melding them with those samples was good as well. So yep. Yep. I think everyone's on the same page with this one in the chat. Definitely. Yeah, keep doing it. Keep doing it, and just know that your stuff is sounding really good, like the delivery and the mixing. So don't be shy with putting it up on top, and make sure that it is up on top each and every time, like especially as you're working too, right? Because it's going to give you some perspective on I guess just like overall what your sound really is, like what you're really going for. All right, Lumish. This one's called Ruthless. No, don't even apologize. We love your shit. Here we go. What a nice, tasty intro here.
Atmosphere walks the most ruthless character you have ever seen on the screen. A killer returning to the slums that nurtured him, and to the man who, strangely enough, had been his boyhood comrade.
Way too sick for the water's treatment. Bad twits. Way too sick for the water's treatment. Rockin' these black, cool, so I put to my
Okay, lefts. That sample in the intro is freaking ace. A little more intensity increase as you get to the transition would be cool. Like me, I was trying to think of what it might be, and it might just be like a single note that's like slowly coming up in pitch and volume, but it's not traversing that much range in transposition. Just something to kind of push it. Like maybe drop down 2 semitones or 3 semitones from wherever you are at the point of transition, at like wherever you're going to, and then slowly, like, or I mean, not slowly, kind of quickly bring that up. I think it'd feel kind of good. A little more separation between the vocals and the mid-range synth. They're a little bit too close. I think part of it is the compression, but part of it I think can be done with the EQ work. And then the mid-highs, just in general, I felt like they were a little undefined in places. Like it was, what's the right word? Kind of cacophonous, right? Like there were a few things adding to this, this kind of noisy range and frequencies. And it would be cool if maybe those things were balanced a little bit differently, so it felt like there was a little bit more definition on at least one of the characters in there. But other than that, I really dig the theme of this one. It's nice. It's nice. Couple of really nasty spots in there. Love it. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, glad that makes sense. Hope it helps you improve it. And looks like Reigns is digging it. Not a fan of the noisy white snare, but the rest was killer. Intro was awesome. Yeah, definitely, man. That sample just slays. It's awesome. Uncle Chrome is up next. Let's see what Paul cooked up this week. First video. Oh, you bet, dude. You bet, Lumish. First video from Jam Session this past Sunday, since it was no longer and more loose. Oh, since it was longer and more loose, I did some chopping and telescoping to help the flow. Sweet. All right, cool. Oh, is this just a... oh, no, it's in it before. Okay. I thought we weren't getting a video for a second. Oh, I should probably... And we can go full screen on this. Or mostly full screen anyway. Nice one, Paul. Nice one. And there's the crew, huh? Nice one. That was fun. All right, let's see who's up next. Kwame says, I'm thinking about releasing this next month. Any help with finalizing this would be appreciated. See what our man's up to this month, or this week, I should say. I think one, this is fantastic. This is like super super laid back, chill vibe. I love it. Um, Two things here. And this would require a couple of extra steps, and then A being this and that. But some filter degradation and some vinyl crackle on this, and it is super dialed in for the lo-fi vibe. But for this, like easy Sunday kind of vibe, um, I think it's a little thick in the mid lows, and the bass needs to come down in the overall mix a few dBs, and then the entirety of the track can be less compressed, right? Less action on the limiter, and allow those dynamics. Like I would actually take all of that off, and then put some saturation over the whole thing. That's probably what I would do. I think that your individual sounds are really well selected, and the delivery of them is good. Like the arrangement is solid, but the loudness and how you're getting there is um, it's a bit much, and the vibe is so chill, that extra kind of pressure on the ears almost feels kind of like an assault, right? Instead of like the soothing, like the vibe is super soothing. So you want the loudness and the frequencies in play and everything to be just as soothing. So in that regard, I would also personally I'd roll off some of the highs on that bell synth, and maybe just some highs on the entire mix, honestly. Like a really gentle 6 dB per octave curve, and drop it all the way down to like 2K and see what happens. Um, it'd give it a slightly kind of fuzzy, dusty kind of feel to it, probably, if you did that, like slightly constrained. That said, I would also move up the low end cut that you've got on your bass as well, because you don't need as much of that sub in there. And as soon as you do, it's going to redistribute that energy much better in the middle of your track. And I think that you won't miss the reduction in loudness at all when that happens. Let's see what everybody's saying. This is freaking lovely. Rains Phoenix is saying, filter the whole thing, kind of lo-fi chill sound. Yeah, I kind of feel that too. What's the LUFS target again? Neg 16. I would say that this one is probably more like Neg 18, Neg 19, Neg 20 even. Like I would back off the loudness on this one, because you want someone to turn it up. And if they do, and you're giving them that loudness headroom, it's going to sound better when they turn it up, not just louder. It's going to sound fuller, right? Because there's still room for those peaks to come up before they really hit a limit. I was having this conversation with one of my friends who's really gone down the rabbit hole of producing recently, and is finally ready to dip into the waters of like fully understanding and comprehending all the ins and outs of mixing. He's made music his whole life, but he had this massive moment with a Prodigy album the other day, and he's had the album for years, and it's vinyl. And he was cleaning up downstairs in his basement after some water leaked, and so he was like going in and out of the room and stuff. So he turned up the volume louder than it normally is. And he's got good speakers in this room, right? This is where he makes his music. And he stopped like dead in his tracks. He was like, I've never heard this before. And he sat down, he listened to the whole thing, and he's hearing all of this stuff. He's like, the details. There was so much. I didn't expect it to get that much better when I turned it up. It wasn't louder, it was better. And that's exactly what you want in a track like this, that's like really laid back, and it's got soul, it's got a vibe, it's got some sauce, and it's got just a really nice palette of sounds. And if you let those dynamics kind of roam a bit more naturally, then people get rewarded when they turn it up. So Something Good says, damn, I think I fucked up the LUFS then. Don't even worry about it, because that ranges from music to music. Neg 16 LUFS is not the goal for your LUFS. That's the limit for the LUFS. Like, we should get that straight. right? If you're going down the freeway and the speed limit sign says 65 is the maximum speed in this area, and a cop pulls you over because you're going 70, it's because you went past the limit, right? The reason why they turn down your music if it goes above negative 16 lufs is because you've made it it's too extreme. Like that's an extreme, like that's a boundary. So it's not really the goal, it's the limit, right? So I would personally dial back, and not in all forms of music, because there are some forms of music where you're not even going to get the feel in your final bounce until you're really pushing extreme levels of lufs, and some of those genres are, you know, weighing in at like neg 10 lufs or so. I mean, some people even bounce at like neg 6 or whatever, and it's ridiculous. It sounds mostly like hot trash most of the time, in my opinion, when compared to a lower lufs. But regardless of personal opinions or feelings, all of those things do get turned down. But there are feels that come with all of that too. There's kind of this overdriven feel that comes from those extreme, like boundary pushing. But hope that kind of gives you a bit more of a holistic perspective on the lufs range and where you should be with your bounces and why the rules are there. Kwame says, can you run those cuts again you wanted me to make? Oh yeah, dude, sure. So here, I'll just show you in an EQ, so we're not just talking about it. Here's what I do on the low end. Everything in your mix, except for your bass, should probably be around like this. Like there really shouldn't be a need to have much down here in the low end. And then on that bass, I would probably do something like this, maybe between a 26 or 24 and a 36 dB per octave curve. And I'd put it around like 40 to 45, somewhere in there. And then this, you could try something like this. Like this would give it kind of a moody, kind of dampened feel. You can also go up to like a 12 dB per octave curve and bring it up to about here. And you'll notice that, you know, you're not dipping out all of your frequencies there. Like here's your frequency target, and there's a ton of frequencies traveled. There's still 5,000 hertz range between here and here where you're finally rolling off the last of the frequencies. So, you know, as long as you're using a gentle octave or dB per octave curve, then you're going to get a gentle result. But I would personally, I would A/B it in a few different spots, right? The bell synth specifically, that chime synth, I would probably on it, I would probably put an EQ something like this. This is going to dampen those highs that are really popping between, like, it feels like between like 4K and 8K or so. It's going to dampen those. It's not going to remove them. But I think it would feel balanced in a larger filtered mix. So, all right, let's see who's next in all of this. And Kwame, I hope that made sense. Hope it helps you make it even better. Is the mix as it stands now, minus the bass? Okay, I can bring everything down like 3. Should you do a fresh volume mix? No, I think it's pretty good. I think it's more just about wrangling now at this point. Like you've got a solid arrangement and you've got a pretty solid mix all the way around. It's just the loudness. And don't just turn down the volume, turn down the limiting, right? So like if you're looking at you know, something where you're setting a threshold, and the lower the threshold, the louder it's getting, back way off of that and do it that way. Roku says, yeah, 6 dB filter or maximum of 12 dB. Otherwise, you lose the nice qualities of your high end on your bell chime. Yeah, exactly. Spadetsky. Oh boy, I never thought about anything like this when I mix. Yeah. Yeah, very few people do until you have to. And then it's confusing and daunting and kind of upsetting. And then you start to figure it all out. And then you're like, okay, yeah, all of this makes sense. All of this makes sense. And you know what it does? It gives you perspective on your own stuff, right? In regards to quality listening experience. not just quality arrangement, right? At first you were worried about quality arrangement, and then you were worried about a quality mix, and now you have to start worrying about quality listening experience. And these are just things that you kind of have to progress through naturally to truly, like, fully take in and be willing to do something about it, right? You learn so much every Friday. It's awesome. That's awesome, dude. I am so glad you feel that way. Thanks for all the love, you guys. All right, something good. You're up next. What is this, Hayati? Let's do this. Oh, oh. Yeah, this is just lovely. Like, I want to go back and I want to listen to this again. And after I listen to this again, I know that the feeling that I'm going to have at the end is I want to go back and listen to this again. There's so many tiny little things that you can tune into. And the reason we can do that is because you have a good mix. You got a good mix. I think there could be a little bit more room for separation in some of these things, which could involve a little bit of time going through your mix track by track and taking a look at the EQ on each thing and making sure that you're kind of encapsulating the main frequencies that you want the listener to be able to focus on, right? So we're talking just the meat of each sound, and see how much play you still have in the high and the low range, especially the low. Okay. And the more you can trim, even if it's just a tiny little bit in each one, the better, as long as it's not like affecting the life force or the delivery of the sound, right? And then the next thing is, as you're doing that, pay attention to where each sound is in relation to each other in the stereo field as well, right? So because you have a lot of different sounds popping off, and it's really easy to look at a big mixing board for a project like this and say, oh, I've already got something at 15 to the right, and I've already got two things at 15 to the left. But what you might not be thinking of when you're looking at your mixing board is when those sounds actually pop off, because I think there's a little bit more space for you to use a bit more of the stereo field. And if you do that, and if you shave just a little bit here and there, especially off the lows, off of the individual elements, you're going to get more clarity in the entirety of your mix. So as soon as you do that, it's going to translate as separation between these different sounds. That's what I would say. I think it's a lovely mix of timbres and frequencies, and I think that the mix of organic delivery and the precision of timing and structure are commingling quite nicely here. Let's see what people are saying in the chat here. Spadetsky says, when I'm sitting more than an hour, my ears just get tired and the mixing goes to some lo-fi place. Yeah, right? Fish Llama Funkadelic. Yes, Paul. Definitely. Solid vibe, this one. Was the master too much or was it okay? I felt like it was a little bit pushed. And if you take a look at the waveform here, you can see that it doesn't really have a place where it dips down very much. The lowest peak is right here, I believe. Let's just listen to the very middle of this song. Okay, so what I'm hearing here is that there are a few players that could come back in the mix a little bit. And what that's telling me, and like the mix, the relationship between them in the mix is okay, loudness wise. But the proximity of them in perceived loudness is not. So I would back off of the compression. I think right now you're arriving at a lot of your loudness through the compression and limiting, and you don't need to. And I would say that a really good, like, since we're talking LUFS, maybe we should start including this. Like what a good target LUFS would be for a track, as we're like talking through the end of the mix stuff. Maybe a good target LUFS for a track like this would be like neg 19. It doesn't have to feel like it's pushing up against a loudness boundary or barrier at all. This track never has to get there. And if you were to leave the highest peaks exactly where they are in your mix and bring down these two lowest peaks here on either side and this one over here, if you were to bring them all down by like 5 dB or so, I think that all of a sudden this feels a bit more like a live performance too, and a little bit less like produced in the box kind of a feel. Right, because in a real live situation, you're going to hear the space between the different players. So, Plate says, "Can you play me next? My kid just oh no, Plate. Yeah, dude, absolutely. You're up next anyway. Yeah, definitely don't do 10. You know what you do is roll it down to 19 and then bounce another one at neg 16 LUFS and compare the two. And just make a judgment call, but give yourself a day before you listen to them. Plate, you're up next. This one's called She Said Yes. We're going to boogie through this one. Poop emergency over there. Oh, skip. Dude, Plate, you just let me know when you're back, okay? Now he's clean? Okay. All right, we're good. I've been there. I understand. All right. Yeah, there's a couple of moments that are just like, oh man. And you know, when it drops, it was just as satisfying the second time as it was the first. So good on you. I would trim the sub just slightly volume wise, and roll up. I mean, just slightly, maybe just like 2 dB or something, and then roll up the low end just a little bit. And you're going to end up at about the same perceived loudness, but it's going to be cleaner. Like your mix is going to be cleaner. You're going to have just a little bit more energy to spend on the other frequencies in your mix. It's going to hit the same. I really dig the vibe. And then when everything comes back around, I was thinking this at 153, maybe a little filter modulation on the bulk of the mix or something, just to kind of spice it up, change things up a little bit. You could even do like a couple of hard stops, just as like this kind of hallmark moment, right? Because it does start to get a little loopy. There's this spot right here. Right there. Right before those keys come back in, it'd be cool if you just like chopped silence like there. Boom, boom, boom. Ding, 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 ding. Right? It would add like this, whoa, what kind of moment. And then maybe just a little bit of filter modulation in a couple of spots, right? A dab of resonance. Don't sweep it too far low with any resonance because you've got a lot of sub down there. Snare can come down a bit, that layered snare element. And then in regards to the entire mix in general, the LUFs were just too hot. It was just pushed a little bit too hard. Not a crazy amount, but a bit. All right. To the chat, see what they say. Heidi getting in on the LUFs. Yeah, so Rain's kind of picking up on the same thing that I'm saying. Like if you had something where like the piano, for instance, was kind of rolled down and then rolled up into clarity, right? It gives you this sense of movement and change over time that perhaps wasn't there the first time around, and now it's like, oh, okay, this is different now, right? Last time I saw a LUF value is when I accidentally opened Ozone a few years ago. Awesome. Yeah, this is good. This is a tasty one. All right, J-Well Beats, you are up. This one has got, I got you right where I want you.
I got you, my work.
All right, here's what I got for you, Jay. It's a good theme. It's a good track. We got Vox. The vocals can come up, the snare can go down, the bass can come down a few dB. I would reduce the subs a few dB as well, and I would bring the low end cut on that up to 40, 45 hertz. You don't really need too much of the rumble, and I think it's going to feel a lot better down there after you do that. 120. I think something to cut down on the looping feel here, change up the delivery with a little resequencing. There's you could do like a little bit of sample play or something. I just feel like it'd be more organic if you were doing some kind of resequencing here. And I would probably add some chords to this in some way. It feels like there's a lot of low end and then there's the guitar and there's not really much in between those things. And I think that that would also help kind of cut down on the loopy feeling, something that can help push the progression of the track and give it a bit more of an arc so it isn't just these two things that you're bouncing back and forth between, and allowing to kind of play out something that kind of contributes to the intention of the song. Let's see what people be saying here. Oh, plate, let me check. We got about an hour, and we've got, yeah, we got time. Go for it. Yeah, Kwame is correct. This is a vibe. Yeah, this is good. Spadetsky, you're up. Ah, cool. Excellent plate. This one's called Fog. Let's do it. So what we're going to do. I would personally put a transition effect, some kind of like a whoosh into a hit, like something pretty substantial and intense, like on a scale of 1 to 5, a 4 or a 5 on the hit. And for the transition effect, probably like a 3 or a 4. So something like a poof, and at the point of impact, just a hair's breadth after, is exactly when that first guitar chord hits. And I think it would be a really nice, it's good to see the punch coming that's about to hit you in your face when it's music. Luffs. It's loud. So I'd bring down the overall loudness down a few. I saw a mention of it sounds kind of low quality, like maybe MP3 or something. I think it might actually be a byproduct of you having compression on at the end of this. And it sounds to me like these things are running into a wall. These peaks in your mix are running into a wall and being flattened. I think that's what it is. And if that wasn't happening as much, then it would sound a little bit more open on top. So there's a couple of different types of compression. There's upward and downward compression. I would really encourage you to, if you're going to be using downward compression throughout your mix to wrangle peaks and stuff, that's fine. But when you get to the end of a track like this, you do want kind of an open sky kind of thing, because you've got like this wall of sound effect. And if it stays bottled, then it's going to feel bottled, right? And if there's some kind of space for it to be released up top, then it's going to feel like it's going somewhere instead of bottled. So low end. The subs can come down. You've got too many sub frequencies in this mix. The bass guitar is too dominant. I would bring it down several dB, and this right here will be the rest of the fix for the muddiness that we're hearing in the track. So part of what we're hearing in regards to it feeling kind of held back in some way is the peaks, but the rest of it is really just the fact that part of the frequencies that are reaching you have reached you after swimming through frequencies that don't need to be there in the mix, right? So they've been kind of held back. The other thing is that you can't get the high end or the high quality energy, that frenzy kind of energy in the mid range if you've got too much low range stuff creeping in and attacking that space. It really needs to be a sacred space. So I would do two things on that low end. I would dip out mid frequencies to make sure that you're not pouring extra energy into the middle of the mix that shouldn't be there. And the other thing is just roll up the low end and bring it down in volume. And just to kind of put a visual to that, if we were looking at an EQ on that bass, just like what we were looking at before, right now it feels like this is wide open and it's just really super rumbly. And I'd bring that in. You don't really need a whole bunch of sub bass in this thing. And if you do have sub bass on a separate track, I'd attenuate that. And if your bass peak is like somewhere around here, then you could use a shelf to come over here and just further kind of shape the rate at which these peak frequencies in that area between your low end cut and your peak frequencies of your bass are occurring, right? Like this space right here is an opportunity for you to regain energy and create more clarity. And then again, like I was saying before, if you can get away with it, dip out a bunch of low end as much as you can. Maybe you could get even as drastic as something like this on a bass like that and not really hear a massive change in timbre. And if that is the case, then A, B your mix, right? Listen to it this way and listen to it without these massive cuts in there and see how you feel about it. But you do gotta keep in mind just the overall level as well. And yeah, just good sound on each one of the instruments. Like aside from the comments on the limiting compression and loudness stuff, the sound of the individual elements is pretty good, right? We've got a nice identity for each one, so they're fairly well isolated in the mix, which is good. All right, let's see what the chat has to say out of this. Let us see. I used the waves picture to make everything into a mud. That's awesome. Oh man. YouTube video every producer should do you know any sound engineering YouTube videos every producer should watch? Oh, every producer? Um, I think what I would do instead of engineering videos, because and you'll hear me reference this thought fairly frequently. If we send everyone to the same source for information, then people are going to assume that that is gospel. And then they're going to be applying to their music, regardless of what kind of music they're making. So you'll hear stuff come through here that's like rather soulful, but it's actually got like some electronic bass music mixing techniques in play, right? And I don't want there to be these blurred lines. It's more about, you know what it is? It's about protecting the original integrity of the sound and trusting in what drew you to that sound originally and inspired you. That's what it's about. The feeling that you have to continually add something to make it better or continually turn it up to make it sound better, what those truly are, and I know that this kind of hurts to hear sometimes, but a lot of that is just based in insecurity. Okay, when you go into a really high-end studio and you're wrapped up in the moment, it all seems bigger than life, right? And when you're watching that through a screen, it seems like something that's unattainable. It's completely out of context. What you don't hear in those moments, if you were to take all the fancy experience stuff out of that, is that we don't listen to things at extreme volumes and we don't really go into extreme positions of anything in the studio environment, which is really what a lot of people are chasing, is like that studio quality, right? Um, so really it's more about understanding what the integrity is that you're trying to protect in the sound and why, and then trusting in that and trusting in yourself, trusting that you were attracted to a sound for a reason, sitting with that sound for just a moment to identify what it was that attracted you to that sound, and then doing everything in your power to protect whatever that was in the entirety of the mix. And oftentimes, that's going to help guide you to the right choices when the time comes, right? Because you're not going to put a bunch of compression or distortion on something that you're trying to really protect. You're going to give it a small dose of something and see how it reacts, right? Versus just like slamming the dial or the knob way up or whatever and just like doing the stuff because that's what someone else said to do. You know what I mean? So I think what I would do instead is steer you in an entirely different direction and say, go check out channels like Christian Henson. He's got a neat little company called Spitfire, and Spitfire has a channel too. But you tune into Christian Hansen because, he's passionate. Like as an individual, he will explain to you what drew him into a sound, and he'll explain how he's like bringing the sample into a sampler and what he's doing to it in that environment and why. And I think that those insights and those moments, coming through the lens of that passion is probably more valuable to most people that haven't fully grasped all the ins and outs of all the mechanics and theories and underlying concepts in the engineering process, because it's so much bigger than that and simpler than that at the same time. And I think that a lot of people will lean into other people's workflows, tips, tricks, plugins, all of this stuff to achieve this thing. But the large majority of that thing is achieved through mindset and perseverance, really, truly. It truly is. It's not like, it's a bunch of crap. Let me scroll through and see what folks are saying here. OTT does have a downward and upward compression. Yes, Rains. You want that rumble, but you want it contained, like distortion of low louds. Any suggestions? Yeah. Oh, and BQna? Not sure if I'm wrecking your name here, but just drop it in the Discord, in public feedback in the Discord. All right, so you want the rumble, but you want it controlled. Tighten the low end, like I was just saying, and then add a type of distortion that's fairly fairly rubbly, like some sign shaping. Sign shaping might be good. What you don't want is something that, like, you don't want to use phase distortion, for instance. You don't want to send through a doubling, or don't rely on something that's going to create a delay in there, because that's going to create some phase issues. So what I would suggest is like um, some distortion that you can target specifically on something. So multi-band distortion specifically, and then just target, like if you only want it in the subs and you want the rest of your sound to be pretty normal, but you want the sub rumble, then just target like maybe 60 to 80 hertz, and that's it. And don't touch the rest of the sound, right? And just bring it up until you start to feel it kind of fester. Spadetsky says, thanks for the feedback. I'm kind of starting hearing what you're saying. Yeah, some of the stuff, man, you know, it could be hard. It could be hard. Be hard. But once you start to see the light, you can't unsee it. So there you go. Rain says, do reference tracks find similar and hear what they're doing, even see how they made it? Yeah. Recluse says, knowledge comes from different sources. Each is a tool you choose to put in your toolbox. Jay, did you play Me I Had to Help Out with Family? Yes, I did. We did. We just got through with it. Let me just go back in time here and give you a quick lowdown. The vocals can come up a bit, the snare can go down a bit, the bass can come down a few dB, reduce the subs flat out, and bring the end low end cut up to 40 to 45 hertz. It feels more like it's down to 30 hertz or so down there. To cut down on the looping feeling here, I would change it up with some resequencing, because it does get a little loopy. And I would also find something to stick in between the low end and the guitar, because arrangement-wise, there isn't a whole lot between those two things. And if you added something in there that could help kind of push the progression of the song and carry it and put a light on what the actual intention is, then I think you've got a banger. Green Hollow Music. Spitfire has a channel. Yeah, I believe they've got a channel. But it's not nearly as insightful as what you're going to get from Christian Henson, though. Christian Henson. Let's go find him really quick. And then we'll just drop the link in the chat here. All right, so here he is. I've got lots of guys like this that I would recommend, because they're gonna, you know, it's not about the. I don't want to go and stand on a soapbox or go down a big rabbit hole with this, so I'll make it really, really succinct. After making thousands of tutorials and masterclasses and teaching thousands of people and all that kind of good stuff over the years, I've learned that it's not about the hows. It's not how you make stuff. That's not what you want to go out and find. It's why you make the decisions that you're making in that process. If I was to say to you, hey, dude, you want to make a super grimy respace, you do this, this, and this, and then you follow it with this, this, and this, boom. You can go and you can make that sound, and you have absolutely no idea how it works. Absolutely no idea. So if you want to arrive at anything through intention, or maybe just easily find happy accidents with it, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. And if you lose that recipe, you are lost. You'll never find your way back, right? It's like staring only at the map the entire time and never looking at your surroundings. So if you lose your map, you're stuck, right? That's what I would love to see people just flat out avoid in the learning process, because it's so easy to be pulled off of your path and be led astray. So when you find the gems in the rough, you know, like a Christian or someone who is willing to take the time to just talk at a pace and in a way that's very real and genuine, and it's not about getting clicks or anything, that's when the real magic starts to happen, because you start to comprehend. It's not just okay, I'll follow the connect the dots here, right? Yeah, Roku agrees. He says one of the best for writing orchestral music, to be honest. Loads of good information and that no other company puts out. Yeah, they could do courses, and it's something that I don't think that he would ever really want to do. You know what I mean? I don't know. I say that, and he might actually do it, but. And yeah, Rains makes a good point. You know, most plugin companies will have videos, etc. Yeah. Right, as does Labs. Labs is also a separate channel in that mix. That's true. Labs is a free project in the Spitfire ecosystem. Plate says creativity over technicality. Well, I think it's a bit of both. I think it's more in how the technicalities are presented through actual context and experience. I think that's what it is. It's really tough. It's really tough. I've personally made hundreds of videos and tutorials where they're very cookie cutter, right? They're like, do this, 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 and they don't take the time to explain stuff. And there's reasons for that, right? Everyone makes content with reasons. But really, the stuff that you're going to get the most value from at the end of the day is with the people that are taking their time. Hey, Nate's here. Here, Chris. It's exactly what you're doing at this moment. Cheers, brother. I appreciate the love and the nod. Thank you. I hope you're feeling okay, dude. Man. Die, COVID. Die. Seriously. Acute. Says, again, really depends on use case. I would put strong distortion on a piano, for example, because the high end on an instrument like that is really fragile and already prone to needling EQ. But drums, it's easy to add high shelves on a drum line, and distortion can add unneeded oomph to things like your kick and your snare. Yeah. Yeah, so Rains, yeah, looking at a DAW when you export something that's minted, yeah. Keep an eye out for more of that, because there's a lot coming soon. There'll definitely be a component of that in Audio Design Desk as well. Roku's saying, yeah, most students I have is a mentor-student relationship. It's not me giving just plain techniques. I try to avoid teaching techniques, but teach musical philosophy and critical thinking. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Nate, I'm glad you're able to work through at least some of it. And yeah, the fatigue is just ridiculous. Yeah, acute. You're just we're just getting started. There's going to be some really awesome stuff coming in the next couple of years for all sorts of tools in our industry. I'm flipping stoked about it. All right, Green Hollow is up next. This one's called Let You In. That was lovely. There's a little chunk there. I'm not sure what it is, like 8 bars or something, where it doesn't really do much at the end there. So you could be a little quicker to the end, or put in something kind of tasty. You don't need much, right? You just need one thing in that little expanse for it to really kind of own its position. This is great, dude. That transition in the beginning was absolutely fantastic. Great clarity on your full mix. I feel like your stuff has been rather impeccable lately. I really like your style. 156, I think the keys combined with the vocals at the same time, they're hitting the same high frequencies, and you're getting fairly close to like a resonant pain point there. So I would roll off highs on the keys and let the vocals fill that space. You really won't miss it. And then, like I said, at 242, there's just that one spot in your whole mix where it's like, wow, this isn't progressing. Like everything else was like, it was like this constant movement forward. So I would take a look at that spot and see what you could either add or consider taking it out. Freaking great track. Let's see what people in the chat are saying about it. Hey, what's up, Becky? Yeah, some D&B. Happy Friday to you. Hope you're doing well over there. Plate says, how much free sound will I get if I sub? Well, there's an online drive of sounds that the community members have contributed, which you have access to, and you also get a free sound pack every single month. You can get a sample pack or a preset pack this month. All you have to do is go to the OhmLab website, take a look, tell me what you want. Just shoot me a DM over in Discord, and I will fire you back a download code for it. And bada bing, there you go. Normally, I just put a sample pack in the subscriber rewards channel. You gain access to that channel as soon as you sub on Twitch. And this month and last month, I'm saying, screw it. You guys pick out whatever you want. So that way, those who want some synth presets can get them this week or this month. All right. Let's see. Anybody else saying about this? Paintball saying so smooth. Kwame Brown added beats. That is a different username. Nice notice, Beck. No, you're not tripping. All right, so next, Recluse. All right, Recluse is saying, here's work in progress that hits on the more mainstream dubstep scene. Idea is to work on something that you would hear at a festival while incorporating my melodic taste. P.S. I hate the second build, but that's why we love work in progress. Here we go. G minor bassy. Green Hollow, you are welcome.
On a boiling desert road, heading far away to some place we don't know. Is it true all the things they say, that we will come to an end? Is it true all the things they say, maybe we could pretend? I don't wanna let go of your love, I don't wanna let go of your touch, 'cause my
I think this is lovely. I think it's nice, and I think that you've done a pretty darn good job of bringing your melodic flavor to the mainstream dubstep thing. I do. I think it's pretty decent. I think that honestly, it's just a matter of figuring out your second build and mixing the hell out of this thing. Really. I mean, the only things that I was hearing in here, I'm like, were just like volume level things, like mixing things, and you haven't even gotten there yet. I think you got to chase this one through to the end. I think it's going to be solid, and I don't think you're going to have to do much more to it before you start mixing down. I really don't. There were a couple of spots where I was like, oh man, some nice textures in an atmosphere here would be really nice. Would be really, really nice. So, maybe just a little ear candy in the polish phase. But I like where you're going with this one. I wasn't expecting it to be that melodic. It was really good. It's good stuff. And also, just in general, I know I've said this before, but I really like hearing your work at this phase of the process. It gives great insight into just how much change occurs over time in your workflow. And good on you. Let's see what the chat is saying about this one. It didn't dubstep die in 2016. Yeah, but that's what happens with music, is one sound dies out and the evolution begins. Clappity clap clap. No, Recluse, thank you, sir. Thank you. And happy Friday to you, by the way. Alec, you're up next. Love Mystery. Let's see what this one's all about. going to needle drop over to here where I see this change coming here. Let's try here for that. So, Mango, this is what I've got for you. I feel like it's pretty loopy, obviously, but the theme is solid. Just find some ways to change it up, keep it interesting, and make it actually progress. As long as you've got a timeline, it's just got to keep progressing in some way. I would find a few fun ideas around resequencing, remixing, and then new sections of the song that you can move into and then come back out of, right? And just kind of create some kind of a journey. And if you're not sure where to start, I would say start by setting something in motion. Sometimes all you have to do is put a filter and an LFO on the cutoff of that filter and hit play. And as it goes through its cycle, as it's like opening back up, your mind will start to generate ideas. You're going to start finding inspiration once things start to get some kind of movement, because movement is progress, right? Change over time. And that's exactly what you need in this. So that's what I would recommend. In regards to the resequencing, what you could do is you could take like a 4-bar or an 8-bar segment of this song and bounce it as like a contiguous piece of audio, and actually literally just start chopping it and moving it around and try to find the joy, the fun in this process of, I don't know what this is going to sound like, but I'm excited to hear it, right? And when you get into that kind of headspace, you're gonna get some kind of motion around it. But as it stands right now, it's a decent palette, and the theme is solid. You just gotta build around it, right? Yeah, drum fills would be movement, absolutely. Transition effects, they don't always need to be added at the time of a transition. A well-placed whoosh or riser or something like that can lead to tension, and tension is change over time as well. It's just change over time with an unexpected ending. You don't know where it's going yet, but it doesn't actually mean that it has to go somewhere. Right? As long as you're keeping people entertained and it's fun, it doesn't have to follow traditional rules, right? But the first step, I think, is motion in this. Bass is good, but needs more melodies and chords. Okay, and Zandino's bringing up the thing about the progress, right? So this is the thing that would actually push from beginning to end. So there's got to be an arc, right? And you don't have to be like super gifted in arrangement to figure out a fun and quirky melody. You really just need a few notes, right? You've already got the foundation of this. You just need like an opportunity to find some mental space to like whistle over the top of this, or pull up a couple of instruments while this is playing and just start dinking around and seeing what actually fits the vibe and the ethos of what you're going for. And then, yeah, like I said before, just try to find that position of like joy or fun, right? Because that's really where everything starts to move with music. So. Oh, and Roku says also do drugs, hold the filter knob for 10 minutes and record. Best movement ever. Well, there you go. All right, up next. Play. All right, this one's called Don't Even Think About That. Yo, Cody Muddy in the house. Happy Friday, Cody Muddy. Welcome in. Whatever makes it better, you can yell at me. I actually didn't mean to yell at you. I had caps lock on. Like, subs in the side! Sorry for yelling. All right, intro. That synth, little whistly, resonance can be taken down. You can, easiest way to find that, if you are wondering, is to get your EQ and bring up a peak like this and sweep it around like this slowly until you find the part that's just annoying as all hell, and then start to zero in on it. And once you have it all zeroed in, just bring down the decibels. Bam. And depending upon how annoying it is, that'll be how much you reduce it, right? If you just don't want it in there at all, just bring it all the way down. And that's how you find resonance. Let's get back to my notes here. Great fill, great vibe, great transition. This has a highly kind of memorable, nostalgic, familiar kind of feel to it. Like it's got a bit of the spaghetti western vibe to it, you know, like Good, Bad, Ugly kind of thing. And it's also got obviously a lot of like modern stuff too, but it's got this kind of classic quality to it. And it's fun. It's good. Sub can come down, low end cut on that sub can come up a bit. It doesn't need to be as deep and rumbly as it is. It's still going to hit just the same, and you'll get the energy that you want elsewhere. Nice space at 130. It's nice that you just kind of drop out there. 138. We've been here before. This time, make it different. Give this section some character all its own. You can keep the transition, you can keep the drop exactly as it is. I think that the fill really works and sets the stage. But what's even better is if there's something different waiting on the other side of the same exact drop the second time. That's really how the second drop that's just as satisfying as the first really kind of has to go, right? Because if that's just as satisfying as the first, but then the second is the same as the first and it's not as satisfying the second time around, then it starts to feel like, oh, it's kind of like a big loop or something, right? So just reward people for getting to the second half of the song, and reward yourself by making it really fun to do, right? And kind of similar to the feedback on the other one, you know, you could look at some resequencing, some chopping. I would find a couple of spots. I think I said in the last one too, there's probably a spot in here where you could just have like a hard stop. You don't need to do the same maneuver, but something that can be just as jarring or surprising and satisfying. It's got to be satisfying. Subs in the side. Sorry for yelling. I wouldn't put the subs in the side on this one. I just wouldn't do it. Really great vibe. Just got to wrangle in a few things, tighten it up. Definitely worth the chase into the end. Let's see what's coming. Oh, and Cody Modi sliding in right at the end. Boom, 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 boom. Is closed. Oh, Easy's typing. Excellent. All right, Easy, you made it in. Q is now closed. All right, let's get back into this. Did I already check and see what the chat was saying? Let's check and see what the chat is saying here. Rains Phoenix, thank you so much for the biddies. Trucks are for mugs. Oh. All right, people are really liking the vibe of this one. Rain says hi-hats are a bit short and spitty. Cody Modi, happy Friday to you too. Happy almost weekend, dude. Happy almost weekend. Beautiful soul Cody. There you go. Subs at the side! Very unintentional, but great timing, right, Easy? All right. Plate says sub in mono, but the low rumble atmospheric pad is stereo. That's why it sounds the way it does. Okay, well, here we go. This is part of the clarity and the part of the buildup in the low end. Roll off the lows on that pad. Boom. It's going to create a better feeling low end vibe. Do that before you wrangle in your sub. Do that before you wrangle in your sub. Don't let whatever frequencies you're allowing through in the sub, don't let anything above the sub range through on that channel, and don't let anything down into the sub range on that pad channel. And it'll fix that buildup, a lot of it anyway. Yeah, happy almost weekend. Oh yeah, you know, Nico is so excited for the weekend every single week because we have so much flippin' fun every single weekend together. Like the very first thing out of his mouth on Fridays usually is, happy weekend, Papa. And then it's again, like as he's leaving, happy Papa, or happy Friday, happy weekend. First thing when he comes in the door. It's fantastic. I love it. Kid's always looking for the weekend. Oh, Cody says, when rolling off lows on pads, do we high pass with steep curves? Okay. The rule of wrangling in the lows on anything, regardless of what it is are you throttling the life force? And what can people actually hear and what do they feel? So if you want them to feel something that's going to change their heartbeat, then you need some sub-bass presence below what you can hear. Okay. And what you can hear, it's not, you can't just say humans can hear from 20 to 20,000 hertz. That's like saying politicians have our best interests in mind. That's why they're there. That's a big leap, right? That escalated quickly. Really, honestly, it's just a matter of like what needs to be there and what shouldn't be there. So if you're talking about a pad, you can be fairly aggressive. If it starts to affect the delivery of the sound that you're playing with, put it in context and listen to it again. And while you're listening to it in context, turn off the EQ and turn on the EQ. That said, a good general rule for pads is to not use a 48 dB per octave curve. I would personally steer you in the realm of 12, 24, 36 at the most extreme. And that's just because as you roll through a sound and you make a decision with your EQ, whether it's a peak, a cut, a whatever, it's going to affect all of the surrounding frequencies. Okay? There's just really no getting around it. There are things like linear phase EQ that can help, but just don't be too extreme and don't cut it too close. Give it a little bit of breathing room. You do need to give it just a little bit of space. If you think you've found the right spot and you think it's like super surgical and right up against the edge, back off of it just slightly. You're probably going to thank yourself later. JR Productions, welcome in. Happy Friday to you. All right, let's do this. Let's do this. Where are we here? Discord. Notepad. Cody Modi. Leave this place behind. New week. Respect the gazelle. Thank you so much, Cody Modi, for the resub. I appreciate you, homie. Oh, JR Productions, I see you're looking for the Discord. If you drop something in there, it will not be heard on stream today, but people can still get their ears on it after the stream. Cody Modi, everybody gets a free sound pack, as you well know when they are sub to the channel. You can go ahead and hit the OhmLab website and pick out whatever pack you like this month. It can even be presets. Just shoot me a DM on Discord. Let me know what it is. JR, doing well. You, happy Friday.
killing our dreams. Let's go, love. I'm saying it's tired of waiting. We can leave this whole place behind. Yeah. Let's go, love. I'm saying it's tired of waiting. We can leave this whole place behind. Tell me, babe, you wanna leave this town? I'm saying, love her if you wanna go, I'm down. 'Cause darling, we were made for bigger things. This place keeps killing our dreams. Let's go, love. I'm saying it's tired of waiting. We can leave this whole place behind. Let's go, love. I'm saying it's tired of waiting. We can leave this whole place behind. Behind.
All right, me personally, no, before I even get to the kick, this is amazing. You're leveling up again, obviously. Two things. This is very different, and your vocals are great. You've really, I think, started to hit your stride with the tuning and the mix down. Like I can feel the confidence in multiple different areas of not just your mix, but your arrangement and like your decision making. There's some different things happening here, homie. You, I think, are feeling more comfortable in your own skin in this role, and it's really starting to shine, man. It's really starting to have a massive impact on everything that you're doing. So keep doing this. This is awesome. Um, and the delivery and the mix on the vocals um, is really good. So I would ask you, what would you classify this song as? Should the kick be the driving force or the vocals? Because right now it feels like the kick is gaining priority in each of the sections. And I was kind of talking about this earlier in regards to, hey, where would you steer us for tutorials for engineering and stuff? And I'm like, well, I don't like doing that because then people start applying things from the different like mixing styles to what they're trying to do, and then they end up with something that they don't want, and they're frustrated and they don't understand why. And this kind of feels like some like heavier electronic music mixing was used, like that kind of decision was making was being used in the process of mixing this one. So I would back off the kick by several dB and just move it way back and really take away that kind of driving energy that comes with that being the first priority in the mix, because this really has this kind of laid back thing, right? So I think that the kick should be fairly laid back as well. And I think that it's also got a little bit of low end oomph that it doesn't really need in it. All right, back to the other stuff. I think it's really, really complete. Like the arrangement is complete, the composition, the mix down, everything. It's a really great transition at 3:30, and just a lot of really good decisions leading up to that. The reason why that transition felt so good is because everything that you did before it and where you landed at the end of it, right? So just good on you. There's a lot of really good decisions happening. Yeah, just very complete and cohesive. At 4:28, and I didn't really feel this at any other point in the song, something was just slightly dragging there. And I think it might actually be the timing of something in there. But I wouldn't actually go in there and worry about that too much. I would personally think that a small piece of ear candy of some kind, something that maybe moves across the stereo spectrum, that kind of coincides with the twisting of a couple of knobs of some kind. It doesn't necessarily have to be a filter. It could be a distortion swell, or it could be an atmospheric thing, right? It could be some kind of a noise swell or something that is then washed out and then just like dissipates, and it's kind of unexpected. But what it would do, it would shake up that moment, and it would absolutely remove that feeling of nothing's really happening there, or something's dragging, one of the two. All right, let's see. Cody says, I wouldn't mind the kick being the driving force for a little while, but throughout the whole tune, it seems like it can get really old really quick. Yeah, like maybe in that breakdown or something. Yeah. Vox is so chill. It's tiny muddy in the lows. Cody says, I think it was the piano. Had some notes a little too off time. I was thinking Atmos and swells would work well there. Yeah, I agree with that. Very cerebral. People are digging this. More variations after the drop. Yeah. I think you're thinking all the right things about this right now. All right, last one, and then we're out. Easy. Let's check this. See what you're up to this week. This one's called What You Want to Say. Cody, we appreciate you, homie.
What would you like to say about easy?
Nice. First beat back from a 3-4 month-ish break from producing. Oh man, I bet it feels good. All right. All right, here we go. So in the intro, really fun, quirky, love the quirky synth work. Just love the original kind of feel of it all. Unexpected decisions at that transition, right? It was like a double. There's this transition, not a lot of impact. We get through one bar and then boom. I like that. I like that. It's a good little change up. How is this beat going to be used? It definitely could go either way, and I agree with that. So, so here's what I would do. I think I would put something in there that could help it melodically, like as far as progression over time. And it doesn't need to progress melodically as in, okay, if it's an MC, you don't need to have like a long running melody that's going to have a top line and like a solo or anything like that. But if it's going to go to a singer, then you might want to think about that direction. If you focus more instead of the traditional instrumentation options, you could find a like a guitar or something like that that's been kind of processed in interesting ways, vocal sample, or even a synth line that you can then kind of chop up, right, and resequence and start to play with in different ways, reverse it, build some fills out of it. Something that can kind of progress and play and evolve as this whole thing goes on, because then it's something that the listener can track over time in a similar way that they would the traditional, more melodic arrangement, right? And then the other thing is, I think that just some fills. I think some fills would be really good. I really love the fact that you've leaned into transition effects, even at points where there are no transitions in the arrangement, which I love. I do the same thing all the time. I think it's super interesting, and it gives nice motion and movement to the whole thing. But I think actual fills would be really good around these moments as well. And sometimes they can even coincide. And like I was saying before, I can't remember which track it was. It was like maybe 2 or 3 tracks ago. Those don't always need to lead to something. So just having them in there for interest's sake is sometimes worth it, right? Um, Now, as a quick aside, I think that a field recording or some kind of general ambience recording, even running dialogue, if this thing isn't going to be sold to MCs and licensing, would be a great thing for folks to be able to tune into over time. That's what I got for you. And welcome back to producing, by the way. You take a few months off and you come back, and someone's got to say welcome back, right? Arjil, welcome in, but we are actually, you just caught us on the way out. Actually, we're going to go raid someone. We're going to go see who is up. Anybody got requests? Arjil, if you want to drop a link in the public feedback on the Discord, we can get to it in another stream, or people can put ears on it between the stream and the next and give you some feedback as well. Think some anime speaking might actually go good in the bridge. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think as long as it's fun, then this whole thing really starts to vibe, right? The only reason why it feels kind of loopy or dragging at any point is because there isn't something else to track, right? And that is the hardest part of making beats that are then going to be sold into other people's projects, right? Right? Like anybody that does this understands this. This is the biggest struggle because you don't have that element yet. And you need to keep it flexy enough for lots of different things to work with it, right? So don't get too specific and have lots of fun. And as long as it's fun and it stays in the vein of quirky, then I think it's going to work really well with this one. Kwame. Oh, no, I didn't. Really quick. Okay, so Kwame asked a question earlier in regards to auxiliary tracks. Can you quantify that just a bit, Kwame? So I know I've talked with a couple of people recently who have been following very similar advice, and I don't know where this new advice is coming in, but it's creeping in multiple areas. I'm sure it's coming from YouTube in general, but I'm not sure what the origin point was. And that is, if you want something louder, send it to a bus. And it's not the right answer. It's not the right thing to do. It's just not the right thing to do. But in general, if you are sending things to a parallel auxiliary channel in your mix to do processing and whatnot, and I, in a feedback stream, have said, oh, that thing, that needs to come down. If you also have that being sent out to a parallel track, then yeah, you would probably want to bring that down as well, right? There's a couple of different ways in which you can send and return sounds, and if you are one of these people that leaves your processing channel all the way up and you're just sending to it to get that effect, then turning down that track, the original track, the source audio track, will be fine. But if you are someone that is sending stuff pre-fader or whatever, or you're mixing stuff up in a more traditional way, then you want to pay attention to both the original track and the auxiliary track that you're making the changes on. All right, so Kwame is saying, so I usually have all my individual tracks at neg 6 dB. I've been grouping my individual tracks and putting effects on the groups. I was wondering if I should volume mix at that group level as well. Okay. Oh, okay. So what you're telling me here is that you've got a system where everything is neg 6 across the board, and then you're putting the processing together in groups. Now, question here is the process being put directly on those groups in series or serial, or are the original sounds playing and you are also producing a processed version of those same sounds on an auxiliary track that parallel? Because if everything is just being grouped and the auxiliary channels are just grouped channels and that audio is not leaking out in any other part of the mix, then it depends on what exactly in the mix is coming down. If the entire group is coming down, then yeah, you could just turn down that one group channel. But if you want to turn down, let's say you've got like some keys, guitar, and a pad all in one group for whatever reason, and you wanted to just turn down the pad, then you got to do that individually before it's sent in. in serial, and then I use sends for different effects. Okay, 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 yeah. So yeah, there is a need. There is a need. So if you've got here, I'll just show you in context, so we're not just talking theoretically here. There are ways in which you can create like a VCA is a good way to do this. If all you're needing to do is control volume on something after you've had a greater mix done. Okay, so like if you've fed stuff out to an auxiliary channel and it's grouped and that's becoming complex now, but you're at the point where everything in there is relationally exactly where you want it to be, then you can create what's called a VCA, and this is going to give you complete volume control over that group independently. And you can't even load plugins on it or anything. It's just volume control. So that might be an easier way to manage the stuff after you get to a certain point, right? Like a drum group might have like 4 to 15 different tracks inside of that group. And once you get all of the meticulous stuff done and you don't want to touch it anymore, you can just simply worry about the kind of global group volume control via here. Oh, nah, no, it's not too in depth. Let's just say that you've got a few different tracks and you've got this grouped, and we would put this into a summing stack so you can actually load stuff on it. That means that while we're in this group, you know, this could be like keys, pad, and I don't know, some additional thing playing a chord in here. So you've got these things grouped together. This right here becomes your master control for it, and you can kind of see that represented in the mixer down here, right? But the independent volume control is still available on these different tracks, right? I wouldn't necessarily say that a system of everything being at neg6 is where it should be. And I'm not sure about the process in which you're going through all of this, but you could also just adjust region volumes via the track header. Like if you're bouncing stuff to audio, you can gain stage independently from your volume meter, which is, yeah, I guess we're getting into some really nuanced stuff here. But you know, these could largely be viewed as output meters. These sliders here, right? So if you're wanting to kind of keep everything at a certain level mix-wise, like on your board, this would give you really like lots of room to control dynamics in your mix if you were to gain stage on your track header. If this is making sense. A quick Google brought me to find that the group feature in Ableton does the VCA feature automatically. Oh, well, there you go. Well, there you go. I forget you're in Ableton. That's right. All right, Ohmies. Anybody have a raid request for today? Let's go see who's up. Let's go see what's popping. Who's doing what today? Oh, if Liv is on, we're going to go see Liv. And she is. Here we go. This is when I say I love you guys. I appreciate you. Thank you for spending Friday with me. Don't forget to send me requests for the free sound pack that you want if you are currently subbed to the channel. I appreciate you. I hope you stay inspired and make something really freaking awesome this weekend. And don't forget to go outside. Let's go play with Liv. Bye, y'all. Big love. Happy Friday. Peace out.
I better clean up my act here. We got